Film. What's up, Film Jammers? Today we have an exclusive look at the new Laowa 25-100mm zoom lens. Nobody's got this. This is a prototype, first time you're seeing it, maybe unless you're at NAB, and we're comparing it to the very similar Fuji 20-120. We're gonna do some tests with them in the studio, some sharpness, bokeh, flare test, and see how they compare. Now, Laowa is calling this the OOM lens. It's not a zoom lens, it's an OOM, and that stands for out of our minds. I wish I was in that creative meeting when they named it. Ooh, yeah, slide right in there. We just popped a fresh card in the Alexa Mini. We have the camera set to 2K and we're recording at ProRes 422. We're gonna record some shots in the Laowa and then we're gonna swap over and do the Fujinon 20-120. We got our boy Johnny out there. He's also a male model, if you're looking. So in the lens flare test, the Laowa had some really interesting flares. It was very easy to get it to flare. Some really cool looks, had like these three little bulbous things that I really liked. On the Fujinon, it was a lot cleaner. So if you're going for that clean look and you don't want the flares, the Fujinon is the way to go. But if you want to go vintage and get those unique flares, the Laowa is a great way to go. So we just set up some Christmas lights. We're gonna do a bokeh test on both lenses and see how that shallow depth of field looks on each lens. The Laowa wasn't quite as circular as the Fujinon, it had more of a spherical shape, but both had really interesting stylish bokeh. The Laowa almost had an anamorphic look to it, its bokeh. They're very oval shaped and the Fujinon was a lot more circular and spherical, a lot cleaner. So if you're going for that vintage vibe, again, the Laowa has that look. So we have the Tilta Nucleus M wireless follow focus set on the camera, and so we can do some zoom tests using the wireless zoom. Both of these lenses have fixed T-stop apertures and claim to maintain brightness throughout the zoom range, but when we brought them into our edit suite, the Laowa just did go a little bit darker on the IRE on our waveform when we brought it into the edit suite. The Fujinon was solid all the way through, but both performed really well in that test. So we're gonna try out a sharpness test with both lenses now. We're gonna record on John's skin as well as a dollar bill. This is an old AC trick, or maybe a $100 bill. Who's going to the ballerina club tonight? The Fujinon is a T3.5 T-stop while the Laowa is a T2.9. So it did look a little bit softer wide open on the Laowa. Now when we stopped them both down to T4.0, they were much closer in terms of sharpness, but the Fujinon still was a bit sharper. Now a lot of people like that softness, especially if you're shooting 4K. Sometimes being a little softer and a little more vintage look can be a benefit. So keep that in mind with what you're shooting. Obviously the lens should fit the project, so if you want something clean, or maybe you want something a little dirty. This is what separates the sailors from the seamen. This is the color chart. Now when you get in post, you can use this to see how accurate the colors are. We're gonna shoot it on the Fuji as well as on the Laowa to see how they differ in colors and how accurate they are. Contrast. Again, Laowa has the more vintagey look. The Fujinon is more contrasty and a bit sharper. Okay, we threw these two bad boys on the scale. The Fujinon topped in at 5.4 pounds, Laowa 6.4 pounds. I got an extra pound over here. It's a lot of heft. That's like a side of corned beef and a little extra gravy, if you know what I'm saying. And that does really feel noticeable when you have the camera on your shoulder, or even when you're changing the lens. Now keep in mind, this is a prototype. Nobody's got this lens right now. This is a one of a kind. That weight could change. When they do the final design and build on this lens, they were talking about upgrading to carbon fiber, so that could shave off a few ounces there. So they're likely to be really comparable in weight once this one starts shipping. Throw a little carbon fiber my way. Ergonomics. Now the zoom wheel on the Laowa compared to the Fujinon was a little stiffer. Now again, it's a prototype. It could be improved a bit when it's shipping, and it didn't affect anything in our test. We still got some really beautiful zooms, but the Fujinon was just a little bit more buttery. We got the little Rode microphone. We're gonna put it in here. The lens actually squeaks a little bit, so obviously this is a prototype, but hopefully that gets fixed. It's a little tight on the zoom ring. See if you can hear it. All right, let's talk real quick about the zoom range. So the Fujinon is 20 to 120 millimeters. Now when you go to the Laowa, you're a little bit less wide and you're a little bit less on the zoom, so you're 25 to 100. It's still a nice range, but you do get a bit more out of the Fujinon, so keep that in mind. And it is a little less heavy, so things to keep in mind. Weigh your pros and cons. So the Fuji is PL mount only from the factory, but there is an aftermarket add-on that you can get for an EF, which we do have actually. We bought it from Duclos Lenses, and that lets you attach this to any kind of EF mount camera. Now Laowa does say that the 25 to 100mm OOM is going to have an interchangeable EF to PL mount, which is a nice option. We didn't get to test it, but I'm hoping that does come through in production when they ship. Parfocal, yep, both of these bad boys got it. You can zoom all the way in, zoom all the way out. We tested them both. They look great and they maintain sharpness all the way through. That's one of my favorite things about cinema zooms. You don't have to refocus when you zoom in. It's such a nice thing. It makes filming a lot faster. It makes your life easier. I mean, it just makes you happy. When you zoom that in and you're still in focus. Oh, do a little crash zoom on grandma. Whoa, she's still in focus. So what's all this gonna cost you? All right, the Fujinon, this guy tops in at $9,999. That's about 10 G's. Now the Laowa is coming in at 6,500 right now, MSRP. You're looking at about an extra $3,500. You could buy a whole nother camera for $3,500. That's like 2 EOS Rs, 18 GoPros, 67 pedicures. You could buy a lot with $3,500. And there's nothing really else in this price range with this zoom. To get these features in a cinema zoom for $6,500, it's really not been available before. So I think it's awesome. I think it's opening up a lot of doors for indie filmmakers. And of course, if you're looking to go with a more clinical, sharper look, the Fujinon is great too. But for the indie filmmaker that doesn't have a full 10 grand to drop on a zoom, this is a great way to go. We really appreciate the opportunity to get to demo this lens before it's out in the marketplace. And I hope that our comparison tests to the Fujinon were helpful. Now, which do you prefer? Let us know in the comments and we'll see you next week. Mmm.